Many of you guys have been asking me for a video now about horse traits in Age of Empires Mobile, so I thought why not deliver it after demand and do one bit better and actually use today's video to teach you guys how you can figure out horse traits yourself on no matter what hero that comes out, as well as your favorite formation. So no matter what, after watching this video, you should be able to look at your formation and actually start working it out yourself with these 3 core principles that you just need to know. And with that, it will take you the whole 9 yards, I promise you, right? And later on, before you guys get angry, yes, later this week, Thursday or Friday, will be another video talking about horse traits, but more importantly, all of the individual types of horse traits that you can be rocking on different heroes, so you know exactly what the hell you should be searching for. And I am thinking of making an infographic for it too, but we'll figure that one out when we get to it. So smash like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel a little bit further, check down in the description down below for my Eneba creator link. Any pictures you make on Eneba does support the channel directly, so I want to thank you guys that do it, and obviously support the channel full time to make this my whole career at the moment, right? So when we go into Age of Empires Mobile, mounts, and all of this stuff, how the fuck can me and other Age of Empires Mobile creators tell you what traits you should be looking for? Like, how can we do this so easily, even on day 1 or when future heroes come out? Well, it's honestly on the holy trinity of fundamentals. Honestly, the holy trinity of fundamentals. These are 3 things that you should know before you even look at your formation, because it makes you understand what the hell your formation is doing. Which is the very first thing. What is the role of your commander? Is your commander role a DPS based commander, or are they supportive? And you can see this in multiple ways in the game. From the very basic, at the very top here, it will tell you attack, secondary strike for Mulan. If you look at Alp Aslan, attack active. We can look at even Lubu, attack critical strike. We can scroll down for Miyamoto, attack active. You're going to see quite a common theme here. Attack turn-based for Octavian, right? Piercing and active, and this is the first different name on here out of all of them. But one thing that you've noticed is it literally gives you an offensive subtype, so you know that that commander is damage based. And to verify that you know that each of these commanders that you're looking at are basically these DPS based commanders or offensive support based commanders are quite easy. If you look at Mulan, if we look at Lubu, or even if we look at Alp Aslan or Ramses, for any of these sakes, right? What you'll notice is with their kits, their commander skill is going to deal damage or boost the hero specifically damage output. And what you'll notice with their signature skill, it's a very offensive move. Again, very selfish on their own terms. They're not boosting anyone else. They care about dealing the damage. Same with their weak spot attack and active mercy here. These are, again, offensive moves, but when you read them, they're also boosting the damage output of this march. And if all of the skills you can see there on all of your commanders line up the same, you can tell that they're a DPS commander. And we can see this again. Alp Aslan, he is a DPS. We've got active damage on his signature skill. We've got active damage and deal more damage if they're in this flee state for the Varus reputation. We deal might damage again with this and recovers units, and our commander skill deals damage again. Like, I can't drive it home any easier. You can tell when someone's trying to deal damage because the game tells you. And guess what? It's the same thing for supports. So if you're a support, you know you're a support because the game tells you that they are. And even in certain cases, like our Zhao Yun here, that has the attack stat and the buff stat, you can see the buff is a supportive style. What this is trying to tell you is this is an offensive support, because yes, he is dealing damage through his passive base skill, which consumes marks to deal that 240%. but additionally, he is supporting because he's giving you a 6% chance to make the next person, including himself, enter that double attack state and critical strike rate increase and all of his craziness that gets tied in. And you can see that again for other heroes like Attila, support double attack, and you can see this clear as day. There's a 35% chance to put all your heroes in the double attack state with a critical strike rate increase on all of your heroes and buffing the might and critical strike rates again for your heroes. And this again follows true all the way through for any hero that is considered a support in this game. You can see that the supports share the same kind of trifecta of subtypes, which is support, buff, as well as like attack buff they can have as well, but those guys are always supports. So identifying the role for your commander is super important, and it's the very first thing. Why is it super important, and why have I drilled this so hard at the beginning of the video? Because if you don't know what your hero is supposed to do, you won't know what type of actual trait you're looking for, because traits are designed to have an offensive trait or a defensive trait, and you can see this in the Mount breeding grounds, which we'll get to in a very hot second, right? So you can see Armyy Sunder is increasing all the damage that you deal of all types, right? But if we compare this to something up above, like here, Renewal, Mounted Hero's healing effect is increased by 11.5. So why would you put Renewal, a healing base effect, on a hero like Alpazlan, right? It doesn't make sense, because it doesn't, because that is a supportive base march where supports are going to get the most out of that. Well, this is a DPS hero that wants a DPS trait. So that's the very first thing that we need to know. The second one is super easy. It's the scaling of that hero. Why is the scaling type of this hero important? When you look at every hero in the game, and this is a good thing to learn, the attribute menu highlights the main stat, which is the highest stat of growth per level in the game for that hero. So if we look at Alpazlan, he gets 1.03 growth on his might. If we look at, again, Lubu, another might-based hero, he has 1.1. If we go to someone like, again, Zhao Yun, another might-based hero, 419. However, if you look at someone like Ramses is a strategy-based commander, and the scaling, again, showcases strategy. And every time you look at their attributes, the one highlighted in-game is typically the main stat that that commander actually cares about. And you can actually, again, clarify this with yourself by checking out the skills. If this is strategy over here, you will notice when it comes to any of these effects in game, you'll be dealing damage of 245%, but it's strategy bonus. So the strategy stat is increasing the damage you deal. This is, again, same for any of the other skills in game that allow it. So any skill that has any strategy bonus tied to it, you're gonna need the strategy stat. If you look at anything, as we said before, like Mulan's gonna have might bonus. If you look at here, might bonus. If you look again, might bonus. Because it's all might bonus, her scaling is might. Why is this important? Well, in the game, there's two types of traits. So you're gonna find ones like Gallant, which is the mounted hero's secondary strike might damage is increased, which is what you're looking for Mulan. But if you look around and just look at even like a Belisarius, for example, Belisarius has Stratagem, and Stratagem allows you to have almost the identical ability. The difference is strategy. Mounted hero's secondary strike skill strategy damage is increased. So it's super important to know what you're scaling, because if you equip this stratagem to a Mulan, it's not going to help her because she doesn't do strategy damage through secondary strike skills. She does might damage through secondary strike skills. And this comes to the third point and the final point, which we kind of highlighted in that second one, which is what type of skills does your hero do, because these type of skills do matter when it comes to the type of traits you're trying to buff. Mulan does its secondary strike skills, so because of this type of skill, you're going to be looking for any sort of trait on a horse that increases that type of unit skill. The same thing goes for even supports, right? Supports have what you'll notice, for example, like Theodora here, she has a passive base skill. Well, when we look at any of the stuff to do with passive, that increases damage. Well, we're not dealing damage with supports. What we are doing though are reducing damage, or we are healing damage. And because we are healing damage with supports, if you guys have not guessed it, that's why you're gonna need stuff that increases either your healing effectiveness. It's gonna either give you extra reductions when you heal. You can even find just straight up damage reductions as well that you can put onto these heroes. But you'll see that every single hero skill type has that trait that goes with them. And when we go into the riding grounds, it makes it much simpler, and it makes it so much easier for anyone to figure that out, because if you press the I button about mount breeding and hit the traits are split up into these categories. So if you're looking for that trait that you're going to need for your Miyamoto, your Yodit, your Lagathas, your Alp Aslans, because you're trying to find a trait that increases your might active skill damage, well, Overpower's the one for you. You're going to do this, and if you roll them, you'll hopefully find the Mythic, which is 10%. You can see again, like we've mentioned with Mulan, mounted heroes secondary strike skill damage. This also applies for heroes like Lubu. Valor is going to be passive skill might damage. You can guess that's going to be your Cyruses, your Vlads, your Warrior Pikemen that deal passive base damage. Turn-based from Flanksbreaker, this is going to be anyone that basically does Martial Pikeman. This is your bread and butter. Fierce, mounted heroes normal attack damage increase. These are normally used for any of the offensive supports that don't really do damage through their skills. So if you think about an Attila, you think about a Timur, these heroes really want to help do some sort of damage, but their skills that they do naturally just buff. So if you want to do anything, just give them normal attack damage, right? And this goes again with strategy. So if you're using Ramses, it's going to be the top one. If you're going to use Belisarius, it's going to be this one, right? There's no cunning-based heroes in the game or Battlemaster-based heroes in the game at the moment, which do damage through these. But again, when we now look to the next section, we've got universal traits. These are going to be for specialist moments. So, as you can guess it, your Lubu, your Zhao Yun, they're going to love their critical strike damage increase because they deal it so easily. So you're going to be looking for those ones. If you scroll down a bit further, we'll start to see some of these universal damage reductions that you can put onto your support marchers. But actually, if you just keep scrolling down, you have healing traits. So any of the lifesavers, renewals, or healing armors are going on your support-based commanders. And that's how we figured out and how you can figure out, no matter what type of traits that you're going to be wanting for your commanders. And the thing is, when it comes to traits, and the best advice for them is at first, just look for one good mythic trait that you know is going to work on that commander. So if you're looking for, again, some sort of supportive based trait, you're going to look for these lifesavers because that's going to give you damage reduction anytime you recover units through maybe a war tactic, through any recovery, through metals or tenacities, or even signature skills of the commanders that you've got. And if you get that going on Mythic, then you can start thinking about two traits that you're going to be trying to look out for to combine together to make them even stronger. And you can kind of see this again if we go into my mount management side of things and we go over here, that any sort of like renewal is increasing my Cyrus's healing effectiveness is freaking good, right? For him just to have on for now. Same with Lifesaver, Mythic for my Zuliang. Anytime he recovers units, which he does, he's also adding extra damage taken reduction. We've got the same kind of thing for Norris here. Lando Norris in game for Scipio. Your troops' active skill damage taken reduction by 3%. Pretty good if you're going against other types of, obviously, swordsmen in the meta, and actually really good against technically the Alpazlan meta right now that archers are running. So you can see why you're going to be running this and how you build up from single traits to a double trait now, because now my Mehmed has a Lifesaver and renewal on it, and that is because I have found one horse with a Lifesaver, I have found another horse with a renewal, and I have smashed them together and hoped to roll the double trait. And if I have, that's getting equipped on because it's double the effectiveness, double the traits, double the stats basically for your march. And you just keep repeating this all the way up. You can see I've done it the same for the Thundercloud, which is again reducing damage while increasing the secondary strike skill damage of strategy damage for my Belisarius. You look at my Timur, he has mounted heroes healing effectiveness increase, really good because he does increase that healing that he has, but he also increases his own normal attack damage. So it just showcases how you're going to be able to find these traits, look for these traits, decide what traits that you're going to need for any of these heroes, and then just breed for them and make them a single, then a double, and then eventually, hopefully, a triple traitor, right, in the mythic bread and butter. But that is honestly how you can figure out what traits that you're going to need for your commanders. And the funny thing is, before you guys say it, and if you want me to do this again, I can, but I already have a video on adornments. But it's the same thing. Adornments you will look at, and depending on the type of hero that you're having, certain heroes like Ramses would rather have one which is archer attack, archer health, and hero skill damage, compared to having one on your, supports that's more archer defense, archer health, and troop damage taken reduction. Because if you have more defensive stats on your supports while your main damage dealers increase their damage, well, it's the best way of making your march work and obviously increase in power. So adornments are working the same thing. I have a full video on adornments. If you want to find it, honestly, just check out my channel, use the search function, type in adornments, and it will pop up on Age of Empires Mobile, and you will learn everything you need to learn about adornments. But hopefully I teach you guys today in this video how you can figure out what mount trait you're going to need for your hero and if it's any good. So if you're going to ask me in the questions down in the comment section down below, this should answer it. You shouldn't have to ask me, because you should be able to say yes to yourself now with this. And what we're going to do, like I said, next Thursday or this Thursday, we'll try and get out another video which is going to be all the different traits options that I would recommend to all the different heroes in the game, because there is a bunch of them. There's fucking 83 of them, and we're gonna have to try and figure out some sort of trait tree that we can make, or some sort of trait graph that we can make, so you guys can understand the best of the world. So with that, smash that comment and subscribe, guys. That is today's video, fully completed, so you guys know everything. Let me know if I've done a good job or not down in the comment section down below. And until the next one, stay safe, guys. Stay sneaky. Peace out.